Hello class. Today we will be taking you on an incredible journey to the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park and exploring the history and threats that have made the canyon what it is today. Let's begin with some history on the canyon. So to start out, members of the Ute tribe were familiar with the Black Canyon of the Gunnison long before explorers reached it. The Utes occupied much of the land around the canyon but did not use it often. While they called the area home for centuries, even they feared and avoided the Gunnison River far below, referring to it as Much Rock's Big Water.
The Black Canyon was declared a national monument in 1933. The canyon was then declared a national park in 1999. It is the sixth youngest national park in the United States.
So some of the major stakeholders for the park and its establishment was the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. The foundation still does a lot of work in the canyon to this day and helps keep a close eye on wildlife populations and management of these populations.
The idea of the protected area process was not made quite clear in our research findings. However, considering the Utes did not go into the canyon often at all, the process was not contested. The Utes were afraid of the steep canyon walls and the flow of the water at the bottom. Therefore, making the canyon a national park was more so supportive than it was contested.
So since the Utes who inhabited the area only inhabited the open land surrounding the canyon, no evictions of people really took place in the national park establishment process. The canyon was also viewed as a risky place to the Utes, so they never established any settlements inside nor at the rim of the canyon.
The Black Canyon of the Gunnison falls in the IUCN Category 2, which is the national parks. Between 1933 and 1999, the area was an IUCN Category 3, meaning that it was a national monument during those years.
To add on to that, the reason why the Black Canyon was singled out as a protected area was because in the mid-1800s, explorers saw the canyon and knew it needed to be set aside for recreation and renewal of cultural and environmental assets. So onto the threats, our main one that we like to focus on is habitat loss. Like many other protected areas, habitat loss is a large concern for the Black Canyon. With Colorado being a popular state for people to move to, much of the area surrounding the canyon will be developed in the next couple of decades. This is an indirect threat tied to habitat loss as it will happen in the future. An underlying cause would be the fact that the population of the state is increasing each year. With more people moving to Colorado, more developments will need to be made for these people to have a place to live. Many animals that frequently use the canyon also use the land right outside the walls. A loss in this land will force many mammals and birds to find other areas near the canyon to occupy.
Related to the history of habitat loss, a big topic that must be covered is the construction of railroads through and around the canyon area. With building the railways, sizable portions of native plants, animals, as well as natural formations were harmed and pushed away. Along with the railroad came mines, with about 26 mines around the Gunnison and Black Canyon area that used to be open. These mines are fortunately now closed. However, during the mining periods as well as our current day and age, the mines produced copious amounts of pollution into the environment in forms of toxic minerals affecting pH levels in the water and the surrounding land.
Another threat to the Black Canyon is the New Zealand mud snail. The New Zealand mud snail is an indirect threat to the Gunnison River, not yet inhabiting the ecosystem. They can be very damaging to the whole river system. When the snails find their way into a water system, they completely disrupt the natural food chain of the environment and affect the natural flow of the river, changing its physical characteristics by overproducing in high-density masses. Underlying causes of this would be people not cleaning their boats before entering or leaving any body of water. Ways to avoid this and protect the Gunnison is to inspect your watercraft or gear to make sure there are no snails also before and entering any body of water.
One last indirect threat to the Black Canyon is that of wildfire. With Colorado being an arid and dry state, the risk of fire is never out of the question. The Black Canyon has not had a direct problem with fires in the past, but many of the facilities have been rebuilt for fire safety in case an event was to happen sometime in the future.
We were not able to find any recent data for new management plans in the park. We based our information off the only one we could find dating back to 1998 when the park was being established. which we assume is what they still use to this day. There are a few ways that the threat of habitat loss is being managed in the Black Canyon. Some objectives listed in the management plan include the spread of noxious weeds is controlled, habitat for candidate endangered species is protected or enhanced, trespass livestock and their impacts on resources have been identified, mitigated, and managed.
In the management plan, objectives for the Inner Canyon are specified as well. Much of the management plan for the Inner Canyon consists of maintaining the numerous trails that lead into the canyon. They discuss maintaining a fine line between having enough managed trails for public use while complying with their resource and land management plans as well.
In the outer areas of the canyon, the habitat management looks just a little different. The Inner Canyon is all part of the park, but the outer areas border private land in many areas. Management is key near these areas as private lands cannot be managed nearly as easily. Areas near federal land are more easily managed.
Many of the management plans for the Black Canyon that were put into play years ago are still being used now. Signs and boards at public use areas are still used, as well as intensive trail management to maintain a balance between recreation and resource management. With an increasing population in the state of Colorado, it is now more important than ever to make sure that the public is well informed to make the area protected as possible.
One key management principle for the Black Canyon is effective community education to help reduce threats to the protected area. At many of the public use areas at the Black Canyon, there are informational boards with info about the park. These boards help inform the public about the area, and oftentimes they contain ways the public can do their part to help protect the area.
Another management principle that directly ties into the Black Canyon is immediate intervention. When immediately intervening, the mitigation of big forest fires are reduced in high quantity. It has been seen that the Park Service members actively search specific areas to clear dead patches of trees or shrubs that would bring a new devastating level of flame that is harder to control when it is ignited. The National Park does a great job of managing this specific threat.
One last key management principle is regulations coupled with adequate policing. In order to effectively protect the national park, adequate regulations and policing needs to be in place. In the Black Canyon, many of the regulations are in place to protect the habitat. There are regulations involving use of the land and fires.
Thank you all for watching. We hope that you all can get a chance to visit the Black Canyon sometime in the future and experience what this amazing place has to offer.
Thank you, class.